You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
That's right. It's your host, Koku. I got 15 minutes to rant. Here we go. I want to talk about the murder of Breonna Taylor. On March 13th of this year, Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old African-American emergency medical technician, was fatally shot by Louisville police. 3 Louisville police forced their way into her apartment under the guise of a no-knock warrant. When they forced their way in, I guess it alerted the sleeping Breonna and her boyfriend. And the boyfriend reached for his legal firearm. He's a Second Amendment practicer, which we should all be. And he shot at the intruders, not knowing that it's cops, of course. Cops returned fire. Breonna Taylor was hit 8 out of 20 times, and she died on the scene. Those cops have still not been indicted in her murder. As a matter of fact, the cops have taken the time, as they always do, to craft a story that's completely opposite to what happened. They're claiming that they came in to the home, they announced themselves, and the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor shot at them. Here's what's crazy about this case. They were supposedly, more on that later, they were supposedly looking for some drug ring, some guys who were cooking dope or some shit. And the fact of the matter is, the people that they were looking for were already in custody. So they barged into these people's homes at night while they were sleeping under the guise of this no-knock warrant. And that no-knock warrant is going to be a big part of this rant, leading to the murder. Some people say the death of, or the shooting of. No. It's the murder of Breonna Taylor. Was it premeditated? Who knows? That's the problem with the no-knock warrant. The no-knock warrant, let me tell y'all something. The no-knock warrant is something where these cops could decide, you know, that dude Koku has a handful of people who listen to him. We think a handful is too much. Let's just say he's selling drugs. Let's just say he's in the middle of a spot that cooks crack or something like that, right? We'll go to one of these judges. They don't give a shit because you're talking about going into a black neighborhood with this no-knock bullshit. They'll sign off on that, right? And these cops could run up in my spot, kill me, and claim, well, we thought he was in the midst of, he was the middleman in a big drug operation. That's the danger of this no-knock warrant bullshit. They claim, and this is the one pro they have for the no-knock, they claim that the no-knock is good because, well, it has an element of surprise. But that same pro is also its biggest con. The element of surprise. Who wants to be surprised in their home? Do you? Do you want to be in your home, in your bed at night, sleep, maybe curled up with your lady or your dude or your children, and someone kicks in the door? And you have a weapon, a legal firearm, aren't you going to shoot in their direction? The no-knock warrant is very dangerous, and I think in Louisville, they're very close to implementing the Breonna Taylor law, which gets rid of the no-knock warrant. Now here's the thing. The no-knock warrant, anyone could have told you that's a bad idea. The police are gonna say, well, if you come and you announce yourself, that gives people time to flush the evidence. Let's say the suspects are computer hackers or data miners or something like that. With 2 keystrokes, they could delete the whole hard drive on a computer, etc., etc. Well, then do better police work. Because if there's a chance of one time of getting it wrong, that's too much, as far as I'm concerned. If there's a chance that you could be at the wrong address, looking for the wrong person, and you rush inside and you kill a human being, it's too much. It's too much. And let me tell y'all something. White folks know that too. But you know why the no-knock warrant was cool? Or was cool for them? Because the no-knock warrant is almost always instituted in a black neighborhood. So fuck them. That's their words. Fuck them. If a no-knock warrant was being asked to be used in Beverly Hills, it will never happen. It would never happen. If it was asked to be used in Bel Air, it would never happen. And it unfortunately took the death of this sister, Breonna Taylor, for something to finally maybe happen to change it. And to me, that's too much. One of our people suffered at the hands of this. It's too much. Now, another thing is, Breonna Taylor's case happened, like I said, in March 13th of this year. It really didn't pick up steam and traction in the public's consciousness until the unfortunate murder of George Floyd. I've seen a lot of you on Twitter, especially women, pointing that out, but in a derogatory manner, like, oh, you know, George Floyd gets all this coverage, but Breonna Taylor doesn't. And I think we need to stop that. We need to stop that. The cases are two different things, and there's something going on here that we got to be honest about. George Floyd was lynched on camera. If Breonna Taylor was killed like this on camera, we would have been talking about it. Is it fair? I don't know if fairness applies. It's just what it is. There was a black guy, I don't even remember his name now, in Indiana, right around the time when Ahmaud was killed in Georgia. Right? It's so hard to keep track of the names and the locations at this point, which is a part of this point I'm trying to make. There's a brother killed in Indiana. I couldn't tell you his name right now. I haven't heard anything about his case. As a matter of fact, in his case, interestingly enough, when he was running away from the cops and got gunned down, if you could remember this, he was live streaming on Facebook. And the live stream was continuing as he died. It was a black cop, as it turns out. It was a black cop who was amongst the cops who shot him up and killed him, that was heard saying, "Oh, I guess there won't be an open casket, homie." And then his face appeared as he picked up the phone to turn it off. And people were able to identify who he was. You haven't heard anything about that since. So it's not that black society only cares about black men and we don't care about black women. That's a false narrative. You need to stop that. We care about all of them. But the fact of the matter is these white folks are killing us so frequently, it's hard to keep up with everything. And then when you add the fact that some things are on film and some is not, it's just a totally different ballgame. Ahmaud Arbery was on film. At least the film was released. And so so we got to stop this civil war of sorts between males and females and the tit for tat type of stuff that we got going on. It's just ridiculous. We have a bigger problem to face. Remember what I told y'all before in one of my shows in one of my shows in the past? Identify your enemy. The black man is not the black woman's enemy. The black woman is not the black man's enemy. So let's cut that shit out. Let's stop being on this tit for tat thing all the time. Had it been reversed, I don't think you'd hear black men talking about, oh, how come Breonna Taylor's getting all this coverage and George Floyd ain't? So y'all stop that. At the end of the day, we're all suffering. We're all potential victims of the state, of these white folks. We're all potential victims. So let's stop this bickering beef and making things, that don't need to be made up. When I talk about the enemy, these cops, these KKK ops, as I call them, after they killed Breonna Taylor, do you know that, well, of course you know, because this is what they do, but do you know that they created all kinds of false narratives as to what happened to Breonna? Breonna Taylor's mom was on Joy Reid's show the other day and was talking about it. And if you listen to what's being said, it's just appalling. But again, if you don't understand who your enemy is, what they are, you'll always be surprised. You'll always be confused as to what the fuck's going on here. Right? Listen to this interview from Breonna Taylor's mom on Joy Reid's show.
Breonna Taylor was shot and killed while she was sleeping in her own apartment on March 13th during what her family calls a botched raid. According to their lawsuit, Breonna and her boyfriend thought the police were intruders. The boyfriend, who's a licensed gun owner, wounded one of the officers. The lawsuit says police began firing blindly. Breonna was hit 8 times and killed. 3 officers have been reassigned pending an investigation. And the police chief has asked the Justice Department to review the handling of the case. And joining me now is Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer. And also back with me is Benjamin Crump, who is the attorney for Breonna's family. Thank you so much. First of all, our deepest condolences, Ms. Palmer, on the loss of your daughter. She was a hero as an EMT and a first-line responder in the COVID crisis. So our condolences. And I want to give you a chance to tell us about her. Tell us a bit about her.
Of course, she just was a sweet girl, she loved to help people. She was a hard worker. She was a good friend, a great daughter. Anybody who came in contact with Breonna pretty much loved her.
And on the night that this incident happened, you were on the phone with her boyfriend, right?
Yes, he called me.
And did he say to you, the police are here, or anything to indicate that he believed law enforcement had entered the apartment?
No, not at all. He said that they thought someone. He said, I think someone's was trying to break in here, and I think they shot Breonna.
And tell us a little bit about this search for her, because according to the lawsuit that you filed, you went looking for your daughter. You went to the hospital. You also went to her apartment. What did police tell you that night about what, the search for your daughter? Did they indicate that they knew what had happened to her?
No. No, they didn't. When I first got there, the street was covered in police. And so the officer at the end of the road said, I explained to her that I needed to get through there, that something was going on with my daughter. And so she said, no, ma'am, you need to get to the hospital. She said there was 2 ambulances. The first took the officer and the second took whoever else was hurt. And so I asked what hospital, and she told me to go to U of L. And so I did. And when I got there, I explained to the people why I was there and who I was looking for. And the lady said, well, hang tight, let me see what's going on. And so she came back and she said, well, she's not here. And I said, well, maybe they're still on the way, something, because they told me that she would be here. So I waited for almost 2 hours, and for her to come back and say, well, ma'am, we have no recollection of this person being on the way. Like, there's no cause saying that this person is en route. And I knew I needed to go back to her house.
Has anyone apologized to you or issued official condolences from the city of Louisville to you?
Absolutely not.
And Ben, to wrap this up, do you have faith in a federal investigation?
Well, I've been talking to my Great Kentucky co-counsels, Lanita Baker and Sam Aguilar, and they believe as long as we keep pressure on, we're going to get a special prosecutor. I don't have personal faith in the federal Department of Justice based on things that I've seen, but special prosecutor.
Oh, we're losing Ben Crump's audio. Yeah, we have lost Ben Crump's audio. But Tamika Palmer, I just want to let you know that we all we feel for you, and your daughter was a hero in trying to care for the people of Louisville. We wish you all the best, ma'am. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, more AMJ after the break.
So that was Breonna Taylor's mom on MSNBC, but Breonna Taylor's mom also spoke to Angela Yee from the Breakfast Club. I'm not sure if she was on the Breakfast Club or if this was Angela doing something separate, but listen to what she has to say on the Breakfast Club. With Angela Yee.
Want to hurt Breonna or Kenny, and So of course I say no. Of course not. Like,
why would they ask you that? Why would they ask you that when they knew who did that to her?
Well, at this point they still hadn't told me who did this and what happened. So he's
wow.
So I asked, "Where's Kenny?" I need to talk to Kenny, and so he told me to hang tight. So he came back about another hour and a half, 2 hours later, and he asked, had Breonna and Kenny been having any problems? And I'm like, are you insinuating Kenny did something to Breonna? Because Kenny would never hurt her. So at this point I'm screaming, where's Kenny? I need to talk to Kenny. So he says, well, Kenny's at one of our offices trying to help us piece together what happened here tonight. So they say, he said, well, I asked about the officer being shot. I said, well, why was there? They said an officer was shot. He said, well, he was here responding to a call. And I said, a call for what? And he said, well, there were some officers there to serve a narcotics warrant. And I said, for who? Because Breonna and Kenny ain't selling no narcotics. And he said he wasn't for sure. He hadn't seen the warrant. And I said, well, I want to see the warrant. And he said, well, that he didn't know where it was, that they hadn't seen it, that it could have gotten lost in the shuffle of things. So he tells us to wait again. So it was probably about 11 a.m. when he comes back over and tells us that it'll be a little bit longer. They'll be wrapping up and that we'll be able to get into the house. And I say, well, why won't you tell me where Breonna is? I need to see Breonna. And he says, well, she's still in the apartment.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we have to make you tell this story.
So it seems like that's Angie Martinez and Angela Yee speaking to Breonna Taylor's mom. And as you could hear from that audio, they're lying. They're trying to cover it up. They were trying to blame the boyfriend because in matters of murder and stuff like that, when a woman is killed, they always look at the significant other. So they're trying to create that narrative. Then they're also trying to say, well, did they have enemies? So these are your enemies, man. These are your enemies. Don't worry about who's getting more coverage than who and all. That's insignificant ultimately. Ultimately, it's about who the fuck your enemy is. Focus on your enemy. Both of us, men, black women, are being killed by these guys out here. We're being murdered by these folks out here. And it's time for us, instead of worrying about who's getting more coverage and who ain't, it's time for us to come together with some ideas. Let's talk about this shit. How can we stop this? I posted on Twitter a couple weeks back. Unless black folks get an instrument of an instrument that can avenge these murders, this shit will continue happening. See, a lot of people will talk about, well, you have to have your gun and this, that, and the other. But the truth of the matter is, if Ahmaud Arbery had a gun on him, would he have had really a chance to draw it? Would George Floyd have had a chance? Did Breonna Taylor have a chance? So we got to be able to put some fear in them that when they do this bullshit, there's something that will happen because of it. And you'll see the number of this stuff dropping. When they got to worry about their wives, their children, whatever, that's when this shit will stop. But until they fear some retribution, nothing will change. Nothing will change. They'll create some legislation and the cops will work around that eventually. Mark my words. Don't mind Lynch out here in New York screaming about, you're making us run away from our community. That's bullshit. They'll find a way around that shit. They'll choke out some dude in some other form now. Or kill him in some other form now. But it's when they have to fear that them or their loved ones will be harmed, that's when it will change. Dick Gregory used to say, if you take away their pension, that might work too. That might work too until they find a workaround for that. But there ain't no workaround for retribution, for justice from the streets. And this is why I have a hard time with the gangs. All y'all do is oppress your own people. And some mushmouth person will be, well, the gangs was originally formed to protect it, but you don't protect the community. The fact of the matter is, and a friend of mine said this to me recently, and I have to agree. If you street dudes would be the apparatus to enact justice, right? I don't mind putting money on your GoFundMe. I don't mind putting money on your books. Because I know you did something for the community. You're already out here on some bullshit. Why not you use that energy for this type of stuff? Instead of people talking about free 90 and all kind of shit like that. Free 90 who just killed a couple of black people, robbed them and raped someone. Nah. I'll wear a t-shirt for the dude who says, George Zimmerman, you're done out here. Officer Wilson, you're done out here. Derek Chauvin, as soon as they put you out on, you're done out here. That's what we need. Stop bickering about who's getting coverage or not. This is not a popularity contest. This is real life and death situation. We gotta start coming together and talk about, what are we gonna do? How can we incentivize the dudes in the streets to work in our favor? Instead of killing one another, instead of oppressing us in between these battle lines. And anyway, I had 15 minutes to rant, and that was it. Until next time, peace.